Welcome to Dr. AI, the podcast. This episode, Through the Looking Glass, is part of my True North series. Today's story may resonate with your own. It is a story of risk and uncertainty when a fit 55-year-old man has a brush with fate. The view? In the chaos of our busy lives, visibility can save us. Let's step through the looking glass.
Tom is 55. Most days he moves through the world with confidence, and he carries his weight. He wakes early and works late, folding himself into the thousands of small obligations that hold his family and their well-being together. In his house, showing up is a form of love, a cultural inheritance he barely thinks about, the one he learned from his parents and passes down to his kids. He isn't careless with himself either. He runs on a treadmill through the winter and bikes along the trails near his home in summer. Trim and fit, he projects the kind of quiet confidence prized in business, calm in a crisis, steady as a rock. The workouts clear his head, reminding him that he can own at least one corner of his own life. His friends joke that exercise is his therapy. He shrugs. It's cheaper than a human therapist, he tells them. And yet he notices small things. A quiet exhale after climbing the stairs. A touch more fatigue than the day before. Micro-signals of aging that slip into the margins of his consciousness. Nothing alarming, familiar enough to dismiss. Responsibility trains you to keep moving. Middle age gives you an endless list of reasons to assume you're fine. Then his company offers him an executive physical. He talks it over with his wife, and she says, why not? He feels strong the morning he heads off for the examination, completely confident. He pushes hard on the stress test, but he notices the doctor keeps watching the screen. He can see from the body language something is off. The doctor says, there is a small downward deflection in the tracings on the cardiogram, that his blood pressure that should have risen with exercise plateaus instead. And the doctor noted he had a little more shortness of breath than expected for a man who bikes 50 miles without blinking. A cardiac MRI is clearer. Blood flow through the heart isn't moving exactly right. He is referred to a prestigious university cath lab where he can see for himself the high-grade blockage in his left anterior descending artery, the artery that feeds the entire front wall of the heart.
Sometimes this particular kind of blockage is called the widowmaker. The stent goes in immediately.
In the days that follow, Tom wanders the city in disbelief. How did it all come down to this? How can a man who is doing everything right find himself one heartbeat away from catastrophe, from losing everyone he loves, the life he built with them, and not know it? Chance favors the prepared. Despite his fitness, Tom's life was only saved by having the physical, crossing from risk to rescue with the stent, just in time.
In Health 4.0, the new operating system for the 21st century, care is divided into two distinct parts. The pulse, which encompasses preventive and proactive health, and rescue, the care you get when disease is already in progress. For instance, when cholesterol begins building up and narrowing arteries. Arteries deliver blood to every cell in your body, bringing the nutrients the cell needs to function and carrying away what it doesn't need. What happened to Tom started out as proactive. He had an executive physical, which includes an intensive heart evaluation by design. This is not necessarily the kind of physical many people would get on their ACA or Medicare health plan, which are less inclusive, without paying extra. Because the evaluation included a stress test, it identified a critically important blockage, and he was rescued from having a heart attack with the placement of a stent. Stents are a brilliant innovation that in essence holds the artery open, ensuring that blood can reach the cells of the heart muscle. A heart attack occurs when blood flow is limited or cut off completely, damaging the heart and parts of it die and cannot pump blood to the body. When the heart cannot function as the essential pump that provides blood flow downstream, you are said to have heart failure, and the lack of blood circulation to all your other organs, like kidneys, intestines, and brain, results in damage to those organs as well. Proactive health catches the arc of decline in a system before it breaks. The bottom line? Risk is visible if you're looking for it.
How would prevention have looked for Tom? It would look a lot like the monitoring of highly sophisticated machinery of any type. For instance, the engines that power aircraft that millions of people board every day around the world. Those engines all have digital twins that monitor them for wear and tear and predict when maintenance is necessary. Are we less important than that engine? Prevention begins decades earlier than this blockage, long before symptoms or vague signals appear. It starts when risk is invisible. With Dr. AI. Technology that is at the heart of Health 4.0. Tom would create a digital twin of himself. Everything about Tom would be a part of his biologic profile, his genetics, his family history of exposure to violence, famine, and disease, his personal lifestyle choices, like the fact he exercises daily, and the structural and social aspects of the community he lives in. His wearables, like an Apple Watch, would be connected and could offer ongoing feedback about blood pressure, oxygen level, heart rate, and give warnings in real time. His wearables can also monitor his sleep to ensure he is getting enough sleep and the right kinds of sleep. Perhaps the most important is his cultural survey, the integration of all the other factors that helps demonstrate the way he makes health decisions. Dr. AI would keep him up to date on necessary health checks and medications, hereditary weakness tracked and interventions planned at the right time. For instance, if you have an inherited tendency for cancer, you are tested at the right time with the right innovation. The whole job of Dr. AI is to maximize your health and prevent disease from occurring. This is state-of-the-art prevention, currently only available to those who can afford it. The goal? Providing state-of-the-art health to all Americans for a cost they can afford.
The result? Visibility. A key ingredient of health. People imagine autonomy as freedom, the capacity to steer your own life. But in middle age, autonomy is constrained by reality, and it becomes something more existential. The ability to respond to the die that is already cast. To crises, to aging parents, to growing children, to the unrelenting calculus of work, money, and life. You become the mediator, translator, provider, comforter. You carry the emotional weight of the entire family ecosystem, and you hide your fears under competence and hard work.
Meanwhile, the body whispers to you, and you can't hear it over the noise. Tom's story is the quiet truth of millions of Americans. People who try, who show up, who cope. People doing everything right, yet unable to act on signals they just cannot see, sounds they cannot hear. We confuse responsibility with the ritual of choice. Pick a plan, sign a form, click, I consent. The illusion of health maintained by the invisible. Health requires visibility of risk. It requires comprehension. It requires action. But our American healthcare system is built for rescue. It is built for what amounts to the last few minutes of our lives. Waiting until disease strikes us bears a high cost. In dollars, in disability, in disruption of the life of the entire family. The American healthcare system rarely exposes the earlier signals. The detection and communication of early signs of risk are not a language our current health system speaks, or that humans can hear through the noise and demands of our daily lives. Without the executive physical, Tom would have walked straight toward disaster, unaware. Prevention would have started long before that appointment, mapping biological risk, understanding the structural and social impacts of his life on his health, his wearables tracking subtle physiologic shifts over time. In Health 4.0, Dr. AI plays this role, making risk visible, translating the uncertain, turning small, scattered signals into a coherent story of a person's health. For Tom, the moorings of his belief in his own longevity snap. The boat rocked. The horizon, once clear, now seemingly far out of reach. The bands of time caught and held him in the arms of the present. Finally, he was forced to be in the moment.
But he is alive because of chance, and because a system, however imperfect, caught a silent threat before it claimed the man who held his family's world together. Once found, the excellence of the dedicated interventional cardiologists and their teams could take over, could save his life. This is the part of medicine physicians and healthcare teams are really good at.
Tom realizes he feels much less certain about his future as he navigates this crucible of change. He realizes how vulnerable he is, and as he looks around at his fellow humans, all making their way off the train, he realizes how vulnerable all humans are. He is grateful for the light of home greeting him as he returns.
Thank you for joining me today. Millions of Americans show up for their families, friends, and communities every day. As far as they know, they are healthy, but they don't really know. How do we fill the gap of not knowing? Health 4.0 is about bridging that gap, making risk visible early, restoring autonomy through understanding, and giving people the capacity to act before harm arrives. If you'd like to explore these ideas more deeply, you can read an essay on autonomy on my Substack, Health 4.0. Please subscribe for future stories to hear about key concepts and the emerging framework of U.S. and global healthcare. And if this episode moved you, share it with someone you care about. The life you save might not be theoretical. Thank you for joining Dr. A, I, and Tom in this journey. And take care of yourself.